Are you wondering if Section 8 or market tenants are the smarter choice in St. Louis? The answer might surprise you. In this video, we are going over pros and cons, real-world examples of which strategy makes the most sense for you. Hi, I'm Ben, your St. Louis real estate ninja. I am an investor, agent, and property manager in the St. Louis area. I own over 35 doors in St. Louis. I have over 10 Section 8 rental properties as well. If you are interested in St. Louis real estate, investment properties, property management, that's what I'm here for. Feel free to email me, text me, or call me. I would love to talk to you about your goals and what you're trying to accomplish in St. Louis. Other than that, let's get to it. So what is Section 8? Section 8 is a federally funded program funded by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And they give funds to help people with their housing costs. So every metro, every city has it. And St. Louis has the St. Louis City and St. Louis County HUD or Section 8. And they distribute the funds to those specific locations. And locally, those funds are distributed out to tenants to assist with their rent. They help with low-income families, veterans, elderly, the disabled, and more. So tenants have to apply to get a voucher. And that can be a long process due to high demand. They can be on a wait list for a year. They have to submit paperwork, pay stubs, go through a background check. They have to do a lot to get approved for the Section 8 voucher. As a landlord, you have to want to accept Section 8. It's optional. You don't have to accept Section 8 if you don't want to, but when you market your rental, you say Section 8 accepted, and you post it on the market. Some people will call you that are Section 8, some people will be market tenants, and you go from there. Here are some pros when dealing with Section 8. First of all, the income is guaranteed by the government, and that is more reliable. Once approved, Section 8 will pay the rent of the tenant. Sometimes it's 100%, sometimes it's 50%, sometimes it's 20%. It really depends, and it's income based. Section 8 tenants also tend to have lower vacancy risk. A lot of Section 8 tenants stay there many, many years. And I've had many tenants that have stayed with me for over 5-10 years. A lot of times once they are settled in, they feel comfortable and they stay there a long time. And with the guaranteed rents, it's actually a less riskier proposition for you as a landlord. There's also a high demand. Affordable housing is a big issue. And there is a large tenant pool that wants to get into Section 8. Way more demand than there is supply. So that is where there's always a wait list of people wanting to get on Section 8. There's always limited housing. So whenever you have Section 8 rentals, you usually are able to fill them pretty fast. Another thing about Section 8 is that if your tenant is not living up to what they say they're gonna do, you can actually go to Section 8 or a caseworker and talk to them about it. Let's just say, for example, that your tenant is being a nuisance, being loud. You can warn them as a market tenant, they may or may not shape up. But if you have Section 8, you could actually go to the office and the caseworker, email them, call them, and tell them what's going on. And the caseworker will also talk to them. And usually they shape up pretty quick because they don't want to lose their voucher and get kicked off of Section 8. Also, if a tenant loses their job, then Section 8 will come in, readjust the payment, and pay 100% of their rent. So if you had a market tenant, they lose their job, a lot of times they'll be late to pay you because that's their only source of income. But it's Section 8, if they lose their job, then Section 8 will ask them to put in their pay stubs, file some paperwork, and then they'll adjust and pay 100% of their rent. So that is really, really good. It lowers your risk a lot of not getting paid. So that is a huge bonus that Section 8 will do that. So what are some cons of Section 8? One of the cons up front that I see is that there is more paperwork. You get a packet from the tenant, and then you have to fill it out. You have to send it off to Section 8. They take a look at it, and they will give you another inspection a couple of weeks later. So in St. Louis, you have to have a city occupancy inspection. So the inspector will come out, make sure everything is up to code. You have your fire alarm, CO2, and they may pass you, or they may tell you to fix a few items and come back and pass you. Then Section 8 comes in, and they have to do another inspection by Section 8 guidelines. So it's another inspection, it's more time, it can be a little bit more money if they tell you to fix up a few different things. So to me, that's a con. It's more work, it's more paperwork, but it is what it is, and you have to do that to get approved for your voucher. Also, Section 8 will come out every 2 years and recheck and do inspections every 2 years. And this is to make sure the house is not falling apart, make sure the tenants are living in good condition, make sure the tenants are doing what they need to do, making sure that the landlord is staying up on their repairs and fixing any minor issues. So a little bit more work there, but you gotta do it. Section 8 tenants are also a different tenant base. So most people, when they want to rent to market tenants, they usually want young professionals, young families. A lot of the people that watch my channel are educated and have good jobs and high-paying jobs, high-income earners, where Section 8 people are people that are low income, that need affordable housing, less educated formally. A lot of them don't have college educations. So if you are highly educated and your tenants are not, then it's just a different tenant base, and you might not be used to that. People usually like to interact with people that are around their same level, and Section 8 people might be on a different level than you are. So you just have to be prepared to interact with people that are in a different situation than you. A lot of people think that Section 8 tenants are lower class and they'll trash your house, but in my experience, that has not been the case. I've had a lot of Section 8 tenants over the years. A lot of them are elderly. They don't mess up the house. They keep their house clean, and they just like to stay there a long time and have a peaceful place to live, just like all of us. Market tenants. So let's talk about some advantages with dealing with market tenants. So market tenants, you can set a market-based rent. You can charge the highest rent that you can possibly get. In Section 8, they actually have to approve the rent. So let's say, for example, that you wanted to charge $1,200 for rent. You have to actually submit that paperwork to the housing authority. They review it, and they say, yes, we approve you at $1,200, or no, our voucher will only give you $1,000 for this. And then you kind of have to accept it. If you don't accept it, then you have to kind of release that tenant and then start the process all over again. And usually you won't do that. Usually you went through all this work, all this inspections, all this stuff just to get approved. And a lot of times you'll just accept the lower rent. So sometimes you can get lower rent, but on the flip side, sometimes you can get higher rent. And you can raise rents more over the years because you're requesting that through Section 8 and they're just approving it. When you raise the rents on market tenants, they may pay it or they may look for another place to go. For Section 8, usually they stay because the tenant is not paying for it a lot of times. A lot of times it's the housing authority, Section 8, that's paying for the increase. So it can work both ways, but market tenants, you can set the market rate a lot better. With market tenants, there's fewer regulations, fewer inspections, and that is a pro with dealing with market tenants. Market tenants could have more vacancies and more missed payments. We went over this earlier where if they lose their job or have financial distress, then sometimes they're going to be late on your rent and miss payments. And whenever they move out, you're going to have to turn over that unit, and that could cost you money and cost you time. With Section 8, it's less likely because they stay there a long time. And of course, the government guarantees the rent. So market tenants, there's a little less stability. If you have great tenants, amazing. But there's always a percentage that could be late or have some financial issues. So what areas are good to invest in Section 8 rentals in St. Louis? So as a rule of thumb, usually Section 8 are going to be more affordable housing, more C-class neighborhoods. Usually you're not going to accept Section 8 in A-class areas. So more affordable neighborhoods, more areas that need rental assistance, those are the neighborhoods that you are going to accept Section 8 in. So in St. Louis, a lot of that is North County. Places like Ferguson, Hazelwood, Florissant, Spanish Lake, a lot of rentals in North County accept Section 8. Section 8 areas are usually places that have higher cash flow but less appreciation, where market tenants will be places that have higher appreciation, like let's say Tower Grove, Shaw, Overland, St. Anne. Those areas are more market tenants, though you can take Section 8 in some of those neighborhoods as well. There are some B-class neighborhoods where there's going to be a mix of both Section 8 and market tenants, and that's good. I like it when there's a mix of both. When you're in an area of all Section 8, it could be challenging. Some of those areas have higher crime, worse school districts, and a lot of other problems that go along with it. So be careful what neighborhood that you invest in, and just don't go for the cheapest properties. If you do accept Section 8, you might want to consider using a property management company. Property managers that deal with Section 8 usually deal with a lot of them and have contacts in the housing authority, so they can get stuff processed quicker. They kind of know what to fill out, how to fill out the forms, how to stay on top of issues. So when I had Section 8 and I was managing them by myself, I would drop the ball and not ask for these increases in rent every 2 years, and I would just have the same rent for many years. I do work with a few property managers in St. Louis, and they are more familiar with Section 8 and managing them. So over the years, I've gotten a lot more increases in rent, because when you want to ask for an increase, you have to do it 2 months before the end of the lease. So you have to request it on paper and let them process it, and then when the new lease kicks in, they will increase the rent. So I was really bad about doing that because I didn't know at that time, and my manager did know about that. So over the years, I've gotten a lot of increases with Section 8. So now I know how to do it and implement it in my property management business as well. So what's better for you, Section 8 or market tenants? That's really a decision that you have to make. Low income, affordable housing areas usually do pretty well with Section 8. Market tenants usually do better in working class neighborhoods, more desirable developing locations. So you kind of have to navigate St. Louis, know what areas are good for market tenants versus Section 8 tenants. Section 8 has guaranteed income, and the tenants usually stay longer. Market tenants, you might be able to get higher rents. Your property values will go up more over time in those more desirable developing areas. Section 8, you might have more inspections and paperwork to do. So it's really based on your investor tolerance risks, your goals, and your location. So there it is, Section 8 versus market tenants in a nutshell. I hope you got value out of this. Once again, I'm Ben. If you want to talk about St. Louis real estate or investment properties in St. Louis, that's what I'm here for. Feel free to email me, text me, or call me. I would love to talk to you if you are interested in getting started with real estate. I also have this other video right here that goes into rental properties and investment properties a bit more. Please check that out if you are interested in that. I think there's a lot of value in that as well. But other than that, I'll see you on the next one.